Hi, this is Big Guy DIY Robert. I had mentioned on another video about doing a repair on an old MXZ 800. Let me turn around and show you the sled I'm talking about here. So this is a 2001. I'd close the hood, but it would get hung up here. But this is a 2001 MXZ 800 with the DPM setup. As you can see, this is something that I bought brand new back in the year 2000 and have obviously maintained the sled over the years. I've lengthened it as well, so now it's a 137 track. And as things get old, like me, they begin to crack. And this is one of the items here on both sides of this panel are cracking. So I'm going to do a repair on these. I'm not looking to do a restoration on this sled. And even to replace this panel, you'd have to remove all the handlebar accessories and then work them through this hole. It's not necessary for me personally to take the time to do something like that. So what I'm going to do is fabricate some aluminum piece to attach to the plastic here and to come down with a hole, and that way as it's attached here it can be held properly so it's not wiggling around. So this is the same thing on the opposite side as well. So what I did earlier, and I'll do a quick time lapse, is I made this little mold. I'm going to use this to hammer out the aluminum so it could have a step down, and that step will match this step. Okay, so I did a left side and a right side. So here's the time lapse. Let's get started on this. So this is a torque bit that it takes. I'm going to remove this first. Yeah, I'd say it's kind of falling apart. I'm actually going to break this right off. Next, you need to cut a piece of cardboard out. And you can see this one already has a pencil mark on it. Right here. I was trying this out to see how it is for size. What I like about using cardboard, I like using cardboard from a cereal box because it's very thin like paper, so it's easy to cut, but you can also shape it to what you need, kind of like form it. we're going to take some scissors. We're going to cut this to shape. So we're going to use 3 rivets here. 1, 2, 3 to hold this in place. We'll do one here as well. So as you can see, this spot here is right here. 1, 2, 3. What I'm shading in here is where my bend is going to be on this. Now, for the other side, it's going to be exactly the same shape, so you just flip it over like this. Rivets are in the same place. 1, 2, 3, and then one up here. So this is the shape I need. I'm going to start off with, and we're going to trace this onto some flat aluminum. When I had worked on replacing my oil reservoir tank, one of the drip trays I saved because it was a good thick aluminum and not too flexible, and but it's still thin enough where I can cut it with shears, not with metal shears. These are metal shears. So I want to see if I could possibly reuse this piece. Yeah, looks like I can get one out of this. So we're just going to trace this onto the aluminum using a Sharpie. And we'll get this one piece cut. When working with aluminum, be very careful because there are very sharp edges on here that'll cut your fingers. I cut my fingers pretty much quite a bit when I do this, but you get used to it, I guess. These are what they call straight cut shears. Because they're designed for cutting a straight line. There's also shears that are curved, so for cutting circles. Alright, now that that's cut, we're going to take a hammer and flatten it. When you cut aluminum, you get these raised edges. So we're taking a hammer and we're going to flatten it down. Then from there, I'm going to take a file and file this out so it's not so sharp. Okay, from here, I'm going to go use a wire brush to take any fine edges off. What that does, it removes the slivers from the filing that's on there, so the edges are round and they're not going to cut into my hand. Next, we're going to hammer this into shape. And I bought a new hammer and I don't know where I put it. Found it. It's what they call a ball peen hammer. Has a nice round edge. That's for rounding things out. Then you got the flat part as well for using to flatten parts out, such as like this. But we're going to use this end in here. So I am looking for use a C-clamp to kind of hold this in place. I think you can see how we went from a flat piece to one that's shaped. So let's try it on, see what it looks like. So it looks like I'm going to have to do a little bending right here, and this obviously has to bend to the shape of this part. So let me set this camera up, do a little more bending, and then we'll try it in again. So these are lineman pliers. Some people call them 9s, I guess because they're 9 inches long. But we're going to use this because it has a relatively large flat tip to kind of bend this. There we go. That's our first piece. So let me drill the holes for this one. Let me drill the holes for this and show you the installation. While I waited for my air compressor to build up pressure, I went ahead and cut the next piece already to hammer out. Here's the first piece. The hole size is 3/16. I'm using a 3/16. How's this? 3/16 1/2-inch rivet. Now there are two types of rivets that are out there, and I'm going to show you them. Now these are the types that I used. This is your traditional rivet, as the mushroom head here is pulled into the sleeve of the rivet. It expands, so it can't be pulled out of the hole. So if you have a washer on this side, which I will, this rivet cannot be pulled out. This rivet here, as you can see, blind rivet retainer, this one is a split rivet, which means as the mushroom head pulls down, this sleeve will split in 3 places and open up, kind of like a flower. Okay, I say that word a lot, okay. But those are your two different types of rivets. This will have, when it does split open, it leaves kind of a very sharp edge, but it definitely holds it. It's great if you are not able to get a washer on the back side of this. These rivets are really good. If you can get a washer on it, I would go like with this style, because there's no sharp edges once the rivet is popped. So I'm going to go with this rivet, not with this one. So I'm just going to hammer the next one out here. I'll let you see that one. You can see I already had to do a repair on this lower panel already, because that too cracked. Looks like we're ready to drill the holes now. So let me drill the holes in this, bring it back, and we will install this one. putting on the back side of this rivet is the washer. Look at that, rivet broke twice. Well, when that happens, just take these. There. There's going to be a little edge sticking up. So, come back to our file. Get rid of that sharp edge. So this is the washer I'm using. It's a aluminum washer. Cheap rivets. Cheap rivets. But the rivets are expanded on the bottom. This rivet here, the center is a bit high, so I'm going to take a Dremel tool with a grinding stone and grind that down. This aluminum is a little softer than the other piece on the other side, So I'm gonna hammer this a little just to get a little better bend there. Now the last part is this hole, which I brought a center punch for. This is a center punch, it's spring loaded. And I'm just gonna eye it where my hole is. Not to damage anything behind here, we're just gonna take a block of wood, stick it in there. This is a washer I use in boats a lot. It's for what they call an oval head washer. This is a flat head or a pan head washer. An oval head washer means it has sides on an angle, and those sides would sit inside this cone, sit flush. But I'm just using it on this, and what it does is it spreads the pressure out on its contact point. Side done. Now for the other side. The reason I use the other rivet is I could not get the other rivet to split or to spread out. I'm going to try to zoom in on this. So you can see how that rivet just expands, but this rivet here, get this, that splits, like I said, in 3 places like a flower. So it's going to have a little better hold on there, but I didn't want to use it because of it on the other parts here rubbing underneath. there we go. One there and one there. Now there's no movement of these panels at all. So this Big Guy DIY signing off. Here, how's that? Big Guy DIY signing off. And this is how I fix this plastic. Like I said, I'm not restoring the sled, but I want the sled in working order, so when it goes out each season, usually just a couple hundred miles a year, that's it. It holds, it works, it stays together. So that's one way of fixing these sleds without doing something called plastic welding, which I don't have the tools to do that. Hope this gives you some ideas on how to do repairs like this. Any questions, just leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. Give me a thumbs up if this gave you some ideas or helped you out. Thanks a lot. Signing off. Have a good one.